Okay, welcome back, everybody. There's a couple things I don't like here. And that is, it's gonna be more of an explanation kind of thing here. So let's do something here. We're gonna. Okay, I can actually leave that. That's actually all right. Oh, let's make this one. I see. Okay, that's all right. Let's call this King's Throne. And let's make a new collection. Let's call this Queen's Throne. And we're going to take all of these. I'm going to drop them into the Queen's Throne here. That? Okay. So I'm just going to leave those .001s there on purpose right now. Now, so the problem we have here is we have a king and queen's throne. There is a king and queen in the kingdom. However, right now we're going to be mostly dealing with the king because we don't know where the queen is at. She's out of commission, something's happened to her, or whatever. So, it would go to show that there might be a king and queen throne, paired throne. Not necessarily all the time, but because there's a queen in the dealie, I expect there to be one. Now, the other issue I've thought of is the dais and the board meeting table. And I was going to have this gag where where the table is big enough, you know, the dais for these things. Here, let's select. Let's select all of them. Let's select both of them. How come that doesn't seem to matter? I have to do this. Anyways, that's interesting. Select all that, except that. Okay, so what was I trying to say? Okay, so let's grab this and let's Z it. Let's Z him up in the air. I don't care how far. Might not be this high, this might be too high. But normally there's this, like this dais thing, right? And there's steps. And you go up to the steps, and then you go up to the king and queen's thrones. Now, the only problem is that the table, in order to meet their table level, in order to be like, you know, right at their stomach or whatever, where you can put your arms down, the table is going to have to be pretty high. Now, that's supposed to be a kind of a visual gag there, where when everybody comes in for a board meeting, they have to get in their chairs, and they either have to climb up a set of stairs to get to it, to get to their chairs, which are kind of like high chairs that actually sit at the table, or they have to jack up their chairs to get up there. Okay, so the thing is how am I going to get a table over there, over the dais, right where the seat is, you know? Maybe back in the olden days, they didn't really have that similar thing. When you look at the old medieval pictures, they'll show that often they'll be in a great room, and there'll be this long table in the front, and it has the king and it's got his family and the nobles and stuff. And then perpendicular to that table are two other tables, one on the left and right sides, where the general people eat. And then sometimes there's the old painting of the French one where it's in the palace, and there's a long table which is essentially a meeting table for heads of state. And so basically, I can kind of I can take one of these approaches. Let's see. I could take one of these approaches, but then I might not be able to do the funny joke about the chair, the high chair, whatever. And indeed, what I'd have is I'd have the dais, and then down here I'd have the actual tables that they used to work. Maybe that would still work better, anyways. It was supposed to be funny, but you know, I mean, I could really do some sort of attempt to be funny by showing maybe they have this huge table that they wheel in that's really, really huge. Or maybe it comes out of the floor, or maybe it's, some of that nature. And it doesn't seem very practical. In fact, it doesn't necessarily seem funny. So, I don't know, I might scrap that. I might put these on a dais like normal, and then any board meeting actually happens at the meeting table, which is actually in front of the thrones. And that might make more sense. Not as funny, but it might make more sense. Anyways, if anybody's watching, leave me comments down below, and let me know what you think, how I should handle this thing. Should I do one throne just for the king, or should I do the king and queen, even though the queen isn't going to be necessarily in the game that much? Do I do the giant table somehow and somehow get it there? Because this first scene, halfway is summoned to be kicked out, to be fired, basically. And Maximilian's is there, and Violet Moonshadow's there, I think, and then of course the king, and the king is actually a puppet king at this point. But halfway doesn't really know it. He kind of suspects because the king's acting weird. So the king acting weird wouldn't be appropriate to have the funny, high chair gag necessarily, because it's not necessarily going to be a meeting. So I'm not really sure what to do. So if you have any thoughts, leave them in the comments. Like, share, and subscribe, and all that good stuff. And I will see you the next day.